I am H. Biswas, Academic Counselor of IGNOU. So today MMPH 009 is International Human Resource Management. So today the session is the fourth block, the issues and challenges, unit number 12 and 13. Unit number 12 is their international employee relations, and unit number 13 is your HRM trends and challenges. So unit 12, that is your first things you have to see the introductions, that is your what the international relationships, the relations are required, especially the employee relations, and your then what are the characteristics, key issues in the international industrial relations, trade unions, what are the role of a trade unions in international relations, employees associations and the international firm, and country specific IR practices, what are the latest international relation practices. Why it is needed? It is basically due to globalizations. The companies needs to focus on the local and the international workforce. Government's policy, trade unions, attitudes, etc. influence the personal and the industrial relations policies. Issues regarding the wages, employee participations, training, dismissal, security and the social security are related to variety of collective agreement provisions and statutory regulations. Local culture and the structure of industrial relations are also influence of the human resource management in its various subsidiaries, in different IR practices, multinational companies across the countries. So it is basically because of that you have to strengthen, you have to emphasize on your relationships, industrial relationships. So unions influence on the international IR trade unions may influence the strategic choices of the multinational companies in the following ways. There are so many ways out there. So that is one, the influencing the wage levels, salary package, compensation packages, and other things, affecting the multinational companies' ability to vary the employment levels at will, restricting the multinational discretion of the social dumping. So you have to test what are the loads and things you are dumping to the others. So that is the basically to see the trade unions, they have to see for the benefit of the employees, and they have to negotiate with the bargaining with the employer also. The multinationals, some of the characteristics in neutralizing the power of labor unions, massive financial resources to absorb the losses in a foreign subsidiary. The trade unions will stand to lose if they take an inflexible stand. Sometimes it has happened because they have resist sometimes, and they have to stand for these things. Options to shift production units to other countries because they are away from the country and they have to see, and the trade union needs to compromise on the certain employment issues to ensure the employment to the employees' interest. Distance between the headquarters and the subsidiary, that is another characteristic. The problem arises due to the physical distance. What are the grievances or any discussions, they may not be available directly. And the problems relating to difference in time zones between the headquarters and the subsidiary locations, maybe the different countries or different geographically different locations. So that's why maybe some of the issues or something is required. Maybe other time, other subsidiaries time is night time, so it may not be possible to interact. So that the distance between the headquarters and the subsidiary is another. Now, conflict or inflexibles, that was one of the reasons. Is a uncompromising hostility. The management frustrates the demands of the union, grant nothing as benefits, and untimely employees do not vote for these unions. These are all of the some of the characteristics are there. Now we have to see some of the key issues in international industrial relations. What are the key issues? So the economic, political, legal systems and industrial relation systems of the different nations are different. So hence, multinational companies generally delegate IR management to the foreign subsidiaries. It's an important point. Delegate the industrial relations management. So multinational companies headquarters involved in industrial relations is influenced by the several factors. Some of the factors are given below. That is one, the degree of inter-subsidiary production integrations, then nationality of ownership of the subsidiary, international HRM management approach, multinational companies prior experience in industrial relations, subsidiary characteristics, and characteristics of the home product market, and management attitudes towards the union. That is one of the big issues, or some of the issues are, one of the best issues are your management attitudes. Now trade unions and the international industrial relations, again, so here actually some of the several theories are there, have been suggested to explain the variations among the countries. Different countries, different variations are there, theories are like this. Such theories consider the economic factors such as the wages, prices, and the unemployment levels, social factors such as public support for the unions, and the political factors. So in addition, such studies indicate that the strategies utilized by the labor management and governments are particularly important. That is by the Visser, 1988, he has observed these things. The studies, he has done some of the studies and he observed some of the strategies. It is for the skilled labor management in the government. Some of the disputes are also there. The key issues in the international relations in the industrial disputes. Strike proneness was measured via three variables: strike frequency, strike size, and strike durations. Now, the bargaining power of the unions are considerably lower in the case of foreign owned. Suppose if you are foreign owned, so bargaining power may not be feasible. I mean, they cannot access, and hence it is quite unlikely that the trade union can untwist in the multinational companies. So that is the issues are there. How to manage the and how to build up the relationships. Now trade unions and the international industrial relations, again there are some different multinational companies adopt different IR strategies. So one strategy may not be fit for the others. So different situations, different scenario, you have to adopt different type of approaches. and you have to take some different strategies as such. The interrelation for the environmental factors peculiar to earth form, each farm. Trade unions may limit the strategic choices of the multinationals in three ways: by influencing, that is a wage levels, you can give a choice; another, to the extent that the cost structures may become the uncompetitive by your constraining the ability of the multinationals to vary the employment levels at will, and hindering the preventing the global integrations of the operations of multinationals, that is as per the Prahlad and the Dawes 1987. The response of the trade unions to multinational companies. Multinational companies wield great power and influence, and as a result, trade unions see them as a threat. So there are several ways in which the multinational companies have an impact on the trade unions and the employee interests. Kennedy 1980 has identified the following 7 characteristics of multinational companies as the source of labor unions concern about the multinationals. So let's see what are the 7 characteristics. The following 7 characteristics of the multinational companies, that is, formidable financial resources. Number 2, alternative source of supply, the ability to move production facilities to other countries, logistics and all these things. Then a remote locus of authority, production facilities in many industries. The response of trade unions to multinational has been the threefold. The international trade secretariats, these all are the functional things which can promote your multinational companies for better relationships. So employees associations and the international firm, where the international employees associations, the Union of Industrial and the employers federations of Europe, that is UNICEF as I say, in Brussels, the International Organization of the Employers, that is IOE in Geneva, and the Business and Industry Advisory Committee to the OECD, this is BIAC in short, in the Paris. These all are the different associations, or we can say the bodies. Lobbying on behalf of business and the capital, that is large companies tend to establish strong links with their national government to encourage them to develop a pro-business environment conducive to industrial growth. Now, providing the information for the members. The UNICE represents employees' interest on every issue which the European Union addresses, from taxes and training to energy and carbon dioxide emissions. So environmental issues also are to be seen in different way. So country-specific international practices, international relations practices. What are the practices? Australia, they have general description legal framework, workplace regulations and other legislation Amendment Act 1996 provides the freedom of the associations, voluntarily memberships, clauses against the discrimination based on membership or non-memberships, facilitating the establishment of new trade unions for increase the competitions. There is a limited right to strike or lockout during labor negotiations, and strike pay is prohibited. So it is in Australia that type of framework is there. They have some different framework, some legal framework, and that has to be agreed by the union also. Apart from that, employees associations, employer associations, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and the Industry, ACCI, is one of a number of councils of the Australian business associations. ACCI's members are employer organizations in all state and territories and all major sectors of Australian industry. Then trade unions. The Australian Council of Trade Unions, that is ACTU, is the national council which represents the Australian workforce. So here actually we are talking about some of the frameworks and in different countries. The Australia is one of the examples what the way they have adopted. Now, level of wages negotiations. Industrial Relations Act 1987 to 1998 lead to the decentralization of the negotiations. So this is one of the major points. So this is the way the practices are going on, and time to time they have to modify also. Maybe the amendment is, if they require some amendment, they can also do it. Now mediations, conciliations and arbitrations. Obviously any disputes are there that can be resolved. So this is also a part of the practices. This is provided naturally. The wage related issues, there is no statutory minimum wage, but a multitude of minimum wages for different crafts and occupations as defined. So some of the area they have to define. Now international employees associations, the country specific IHRM practices, now some of the thing now wage related issues. Here actually I am talking about the stage by stage. Now coming to wage related issues. There is no statutory minimum wages, but the magnitude of the minimum wages of the different crafts and occupations has been defined, as I said. Now general description and the legal framework, the Australian labour law is based on the constitutionally guaranteed liberal fundamental rights, freedom of association and freedom of assembly, the principle of equality, freedom of establishment, freedom of occupation, and the prohibition of forced labor. So these all are some of the legal framework in respect of Austria. So now again the employee associations, establishment of the works councils in all companies with at least 5 employees who are eligible to vote. You see that their practices and the norms. That is compulsory. Now employers associations, the membership is compulsory in single business groups at state level and also in the WKO Federation Chamber of Business of Austria and its special associations. Actually, Australia, okay. Now we are giving you the Austria also. And then after that, the Austria, another thing is your employee associations. Establishment of works council in all companies with a least 5 employees who are eligible to vote, and this is compulsory. Now employers associations, the membership is compulsory in a single business groups. Now the trade unions. Here actually in Austria, that is the OGB, that is a trade union confederations. It consists of 14 individual trade unions that are not legal entities. Individual trade unions are responsible for negotiations. Agreements are signed by the OGB. So some confederations there, they are the responsible to do all these agreements, and they are allowed to sign these things. Now mediation, counseling, conciliations and the arbitrations. The arbitration is compulsory at all level of the employment relations under certain conditions. That is dismissal or a handicapped employees. In that case it is some of the conditions are there. Now wage related issues in Austria, that is no statutory minimum wages is determined. Collective agreement by lay down by your minimum standards. Now coming to Canada. Canada is a general descriptions for the legal framework. The Canadian Labour Code established the freedom of employees and employers to join trade unions and employers organizations, and no participate in legally defined activities. Strikes and layouts or lockouts, strikes and lockouts are not permitted during the term of a labor agreement. So that is one of the conditions. So agreement is one of the valid things where everything are written and agreed by the trade unions and management. Now employee involvement. Now we are discussing in relation to your Canada. So employee involvement, there is no statutory framework for the works council in Canada. Employers associations, the Business Council of National Issues, there is a BCN. It represents the interest of the large Canadian corporations. So one association is there, they are too responsible for these things. Now trade unions, the Canadian Labour Congress, that is CLC, is by far the largest trade union federations. The level of wage negotiations, collective bargaining in Canada is largely undertaken at the firm level, and it is decentralized. Now country specific practices, again some of the point is mediations, conciliations and the arbitrations in regard to Canada. That is, there is an obligation for the conciliations and the arbitrations. So then some obligations will be there. Again, everything should be mentioned in your agreement. Now wage related issues, all paid workers are subject to legislated provincial minimum wages. Now coming to France, there some of the general description and the legal framework, the right to employment, non-discriminations on grounds of the origin, because on the ground of origin you cannot discriminate, opinions and the beliefs have been constitutionalized. So this is for the legal frameworks. Now coming to employers associations, that is your MEDEF, that is your movement, the enterprises, franchises, that is company that comprises more than 80 employers associations organized at the sectorial level according to the type of manufacturing and commerce and services. Here actually try to highlight the things. Different countries have a different approaches, different practices are there. That you have to see, and some legal areas, employees association areas. So different area defined, and which the area we can compromise the things, compare the things the other countries way. Trade unions, the trade unions affiliated with the following trade union, that is confederations, are represented by the right CGT, there is a Confederation General, the Travails. Then legal and the wage negotiations, collective agreements are concluded between one or more trade union organizations that are recognized as being the representative at the national level. Again, the mediations, counselings and the arbitrations that gets the individual conflicts between the employers and the employees about the labor contracts are arbitrated by the conciliations boards. So some board will be there and they will be sort out the things, what are the issues are there, any cases. Trade union, there are trade unions affiliated with the following trade union confederations are represented by the right, that is CGT, Confederation of the Tables. Legal wages of the negotiations, collective agreements are concluded, that is between the one more trade union organizations that are recognized as being the representative at the national levels, and as a result the arbitration, there are individual conflict between the employers and the employee about the labor contracts and the counseling by the board. Now the trade unions affiliated with the following trade unions, confederations, and your level of the negotiations collected by the agreement. So it is some of the same thing. I think it is some of the things are repeated. The statutory minimum wages is increased periodically. The wage related issues are little different here. That is statutory, the minimum wages increase periodically, and employers pay the first 3 days of sickness, and sickness benefits are paid thereafter. So here see the practices, different practices, you have to highlight, point out the thing, where the similarity is there, some of the countries, and so where the dissimilarity is there, you have to compare and make a chart. Now India. Here actually see the International Employees Relations General Discussion and the legal framework. So there are about the 108 acts in 2002, and second National Commission of the Labour, this set up in 1999, has recommended the following. Well, what is the recommendation? No prior permission is required to lay off, retrenchment, no need for any wage board, 5 holidays and 10 restricted holidays in a year, no contract labor for core production services, a trade union with at least 66% memberships to be single negotiating agent, setting up a grievance redressals committee for organizations employing 20 or more workers, creation of a high power National Social Security Authority, solving a 3 policy framework and enactments of the law of for the unorganized sector workers to ensure the generations and the protections of jobs. That is by the survey, and that is already formulated. The legal framework is formulated for the Indian perspectives. Now, employee involvement. The Industrial Dispute Act 1947, it provides for the setting up of the bipartite works committee as a workers' participation scheme for the companies that is employing the more than 100 workers. Unionized companies may also have a joint councils. Joint management council is another form of the worker participation in India. Now, employers associations, the All India Organizations of the Employers, that is AIOE, has the representation from the manufacturing, banking, insurance, commercial establishments. The Employers Federation of India, that is EFI, is another body which is registered as a trade union under the Indian Trade Union Act 1926. Trade unions, there is a multiple unionisms, both at plant levels and the industry levels, pose a serious threat to industrial peace and harmony in India. The All India Trade Union Congress, that is AITUC, was set up in 1920. The Indian National Trade Union Congress, that is INTUC, and the Hind Mazdoor Sabha, that is HMS, and the United Trade Union Congress are a few significant unions. Level of wages negotiations take place at various levels, such as your plant and industry and the national levels. Then again the mediations and the conciliations and the arbitrations is as per the Industrial Dispute Act, and your employer and employee and workers can refer to your arbitrations or conciliations to solve any industrial disputes. Then your adjudications means a mandatory settlement of an industrial dispute by a labor court or a tribunals. They are also, it is all of the practices in India actually. So now some of the important questions related to this unit, that you discuss the significant issues and the concern of the international IR, discuss the recent development of the international IR, then briefly discuss the practices, as I said, international practices of the following countries: Australia, Japan, France, US, UK and India. Anything can become questions. It may come, for example, briefly discuss the international practices of UK, like this. Then you have to explain the things. In what ways can the trade unions constrains the strategic choices? What the way the picture of the trade union also you have to highlight. Identify the 4 characteristics of the multinational that give the trade unions cause for the concerns, and how have the your trade unions responded to multinationals. Have these responses been the successful? So this type of questions are likely to be in the exam for unit number 12. Now coming to another unit, that is your HRM trends and challenges. This is the last unit, basically your issues and the challenges. So here we have to see the business context, the HR response, and what are the, how to building the organizational capability, and streamlining the HR support functions and HR services centers, down outsourcing or insourcing the HR, and some mechanisms and integrations. The major challenge before the organizations today is remain relevant in the past phase, changing the business environment. Transiting to a knowledge-based economy from a commodity-based economy requires a fundamental shift in the way organizations operate, necessitates changes in the organizational structures, new ways of learning, adopting the new technology, and transforming the way organizations attract, retain and the motivation of their employees. Business context, there are, as we know, the COVID-19 crisis have been disrupted to every company, and the rapid changes that are taking place will be the long lastings for years to come. Changes in all aspects of the work is inevitable today, and the innovative business models, workplace designs, new technologies such as AR, VR and AI, artificial intelligence and IoT, and the composition of your workforce itself, a mix of human and intelligent machines. These all are the present scenario. Biggest consequences of the COVID-19, there is outbreak in the transformation in the way we work. Drastically change has happened. The workspace of the future will be very different and will provide the employees with a choice of working anytime from anywhere. That type of situation will come. Now some of the study see the trend during your workforce across the various industries. So here some of the industries are labeled, that is your manufacturing, that your pharma, and then your services, technology area. So you can see from the bar chart, from the curve, why it is things. Some gig workforce are in the 2020, and it has happened. You see the way it is. Technology, you see the highest and very fast moving. And tech firms on the strong footings. Here the IT services are very in the strong footing. There are 73%. IT companies have been the higher levels of the gig hirings for the delivery roles. And if you see the ROA, your software productions. So this is some of your gig workforce across the sectors in India are shown in this chart. Now HR response to delivering the value in the above context is the major challenge for the HR leaders. Technology can only help the organization succeed in HR shift, their way of working to be more agile and keep up with the space of change. HR therefore, it needs to adopt a much more flexible and holistic approach. Organization needs to be started to emphasize on diversity of personality, emotional intelligence, lived experience, risk appetite, and neurodiversity, imaginations, and adaptability. These all are terms where we have to look after, we have to emphasize the things. Building the organizational capability, trends of the globalizations, market liberalizations, the new deregulations, and the technical evolutions are restructuring the global markets and challenging the traditional approaches to gaining the competitive advantage. This is as by the G. Hamel 2000, he has already derived the testings. Organizational capability, this focuses on the ability of a firm's internal processes, then your systems and the management practices to meet the customer's needs and to direct both the skills and the efforts of the employees towards achieving the goals of the organizations. Now, some of the developing organizations' capability, again, as per the Montelliger, he developed a model. He has developed some of the models in 2002 of the process of the skills he needed to provide the such development of the capability. Five key resources were used throughout the process. And all things that international HR managers can help build, these are one of the leaderships: organizational culture, information technology, long-term views, and social networks. These are all of the 5 areas, the key resources we have to develop. Streamlining HR support functions, HR service center. Administrative processing is carried out separately from the main HR group. The central organizations of HR resources comes hand to hand with the local tailored advice, policy and practices designed around the business needs. Administrative functions may be centralized, but decision making remains decentralized. So here some of the things are, see, the administrative function, it can be centralized, but when you are the decision making process or operational point of view, definitely it should be remain the decentralized, so that work should not be disturbed. It not be uninterrupted work should be there. For the technical innovations has enabled the organizations to consider a much wider range of HR services on a common basis around the globe. So technical innovations is must. Many organizations install the global HR directors as an extra layer in the reporting the structure in order to create a positions that acted as a strategic business partners. The global HR directors will see the strategic part of the particular. Some of the companies, they have some country regional head, means Asia Pacific, Europe, one head. He is looking after all the business of this thing. Any strategic issues are there or not, if any implementation is required or not. So you have to focus on that. So you have to, another layer has to be established. Now also outsourcings or insourcings of the HRs, if needed, you have to do it. So issues of the outsourcings, the transactional aspect of the IHRM has been a source of considerable debate in the recent years. It advocates of the outsourcing HR activities point to reduce the costs, increase the service quality, and produce by the greater economics of scales. They increase the incentives and the accountability for the service providers and increase the access to experts in specialized areas. So here some of the pros and cons are there. You have to go for outsourcing or not. It is depend of the competitions. There's the competitors angle, you have to, that advantage you have to take it. Organizations must make sensible assessments of this practice knowledge of the constants. So here sensible assessment is very much needed. Now mechanisms of integrations. Intellectual, social and the emotional integrations play a key role in the work of international HR managers. The effective management of the international management talent, that is one, the talent management, global knowledge management, management through the global networks, and global establishment HR process. So some of the effective management are for the international management talent are given below. This is some of the integration, how to mechanisms and the integration part. Now the environment. The environment will be one of the which the global firms will either extend the shared service concept to other parts of their business operations, subsidiaries and satellite companies. So extent is very much needed. When integration across the recent merge or acquired business or the joint venture operations where integration is very much needed, because those who are already acquired, merging, acquisition. So their integration from the all angles that you have to see. Developments will take place and will signal two major shifts in focuses of the HR roles. The HR function becomes both the gatekeepers of the national culture, advising on which process can be standardized and which must remain localized, and the knowledge agents who transfer the ideas across the business functions and geographical boundaries within the global firms. So that's why the HR function is now critical, and the special strategic ideas are required in terms of your international HR business. Now some of the relevant questions of these units, that is your self-assessment questions. How is organizational capability evident in your organizations? How can HR help in organizational capability buildings? Explain the impact of the shared services models on the HR functions. Are they going to represent a new force for the standardizations or the HR practices on a global basis? Or will they result in more localized and the customized policies and practices? Then some of the outlines a few trends in the HR that are going in impact of the international HRM and suggest strategies to manage them. Now apart from that, I have to give some more information. Some of the things I can recap or can give you some gist. What are the outcomes from these sessions? First things, when we are talking about the international employee relations, and some of the issues and challenges are also there. So there basically we have to focus on the role of the responsibilities of the trade unions. I am just talking about the before the 13 unit number 12, unit number 12, where the international employees relations we are talking about. Their main things, we have to see the role and responsibility of the trade unions. That's number one. First things, that is you develop the networks. That is the main important. And the agendas. Basically they are building the networks between the nations, between the trade unions, and along with the global production systems. In an example of that is your transactional cooperations. Unions have to deal with the sophisticated and often the anti-union human resource management strategies as a local level within the global production systems, and respond to difficult representational situation as a result of the sourcing the decisions. That is the number one. But that means you have to develop first of the network. Number two, ensure the social entitlements. Social entitlements also you have to ensure it. When you are talking about the responsibility of trade unions. The greatest fear is that a global labor market allows the extremely low paid workers. It is some of the fear is this. these developing countries to undercut the wages of the less skilled workers in developed countries. So that things we have to see before we launch some of the international business. Another trade union responsibility is that is address the issues of the governance and the accountability, because trade unions at the same time they have to raise the issues, at the same time also they have to be responsible and some accountability should be there. So this is a part of a trade union responsive purpose. So accountability is very much important. Then your part of your welcome opportunities, because trade union should welcome the opportunities and they have to spread to the unions, other employees. Yes, that is the opportunity, and we have to take it as for the future purposes. And registration will be there. You have to register because of the your benefits. Registration will be there. So risks are also there. Another point is convey the goodwill. The world's common goodwill be greatly helped to the union using the strength and the place of their table in the work to the help the workers. So goodwill is another aspect for the your role of a trade unions, especially in the international point of view. Another area we have to keep it the human resource planning. That is also important part. If we see what are the significant issues, if I talking about what are the issues are there for the international HR, that is your HRM planning. Planning is very must. You have to plan and the critical management functions that you have to plan it, so then successfully you can implement. And before that you have to calculate, among other things, recruitment needs and the succession and development plans are very much required. Then at the same time you have to see the recruitment and selection systems, focus on the international market, the salaries, the package systems. Training and development is another area, reward management, then your management development, and employee participations. This is also very much needed. Motivations. Undoubtedly motivation is also required. Another thing, when you are talking about the international management, that is the quality management. That is must. Then globally you can capture the market. So in order to survive in the uncertain conditions also, if it is uncertain environment, if your quality is good, quality management is good, definitely you can survive it. So it is a need to adopt the work culture that is sustainable to the environment. Job design, jobs also to be designed in such a way so that you can cope up the situations. Human resource management should take a new approach to the environment. Now question may come in around your trade union constraints in the strategic choice of multinational companies. Again the role of trade union in the multinational companies. The trade union should therefore basically, whether appropriate, maintain and jointly with the management and the other union also. They have to have collaborate with the other unions also. That is some of your effective arrangements at the industry, at the local levels, for the negotiation, consultations and the communications, for setting up the grievances and the disputes. That is one of the things. Take all the responsible steps to ensure that their officials and the members observed all agreements. Another aspect is this: you have to identify the trends in the industrial relations. What are the trends is going on? What are the practices is going on globally. So latest practices which are really suitable for your conditions, that need to be adopted, and that will help to your members and anticipate the keep abreast of changes. Then you can change very easily. So if you it is possible to summarize the things. The various functions are there to be undertaken by the trade unions. That is your political roles and market roles, regulatory roles is also important. Then democratizing the roles, then your service roles, enhancement of the role in the helping, welfare roles. These all are the part of your responsibility of you as a trade unions. So issues are basically related to your industrial relations. That is your basically the standardizations, bargaining rights, lookisms, and your multinational corporations. So that some of the considerations are there. You have to look after. Now coming to your now the last unit, that is your unit number HRM trends and the challenges. There are actually some of the points I am trying to highlight. Question may come, the development, the main thing is the organizational capability. Here, to retain in the market, to survive in the market, your capability has to be enhanced. And global knowledge management is very much needed. As I said, some of the knowledge management, there is a global knowledge management concept has to be adopted. Finally, it is so lot of other observations are there, different observations are there. How to create the knowledge, that is the knowledge acquisitions and your creation, and how to viability and the company in long terms, how to retain in the market. So that's why the global knowledge management adaptation is very much required. This is basically the present challenges. The knowledge capture and the storage also. So creation of the innovation or inventory of the knowledge, so that the organization knows that knowledge is process and where it resides. The maintenance of the current knowledge is also important. Here I will repeat once again, that is the maintenance of current knowledge is usable form so that it remains valuable. I can repeat once again, the sentence is very important. The maintenance of current knowledge in usable form so that it remains valuable. So that is one of the area. Then now we can also cope up the present challenges. Research oriented work to be more and more, and before sending to establish some of your expert and HR expert in the internationally, some of the things are needed for the global transfer, before the global transfers. That is the part-time human resource internships. That is a part-time means in the sense during the office hours also. Apart from that, you have to train them so that they can be equipped, they have to be ready to launch, to deport to the global business. And 15 to 20 hours per week you have to give them for the development purposes. So that type of internships should be required. And duties and the responsibilities also you have to train them. That is also in that during the internships modules, they should have a good module should be there. What type of duties will be there? Some stimulations or maybe the expert, those who have already returned from the abroad or the other internationally, they should join as the expert. Their viewpoints also to be considered. So that is the way some of the team is there required. So education, knowledge, internships are only the pathway can experience, skilled, that only you can have a ability to have a good things, and easily you can challenge the decision scenarios. So, and your last is your work environment, that has to be very friendly, that should be seamlessly people can work with a very good environment. Happiness is also required to the employees, so that then only they can be happy worker can do the production can be increased. So okay, I think now this is the way I can now complete the sessions, and we can look forward for the next sessions. Thank you.